thanks, dear.
Okay, we are
audio.
recording. It is 6 o'clock
Because nobody's saying anything yet.
Yeah, Steve is talking.
and Bill has joined us. So I would like to call the special meeting of the board to order.
No.
If we could say our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
the flag
of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I need to get down there.
Okay, we should take the roll, and we are gonna record the vote by voice as we have been practice. Anita,
Here.
Lorna,
Here.
Lou,
Here.
Jennifer,
Chat with
Here.
everyone, it says.
Megan,
Here.
Oh, that's down here. You don't want that. You want the
Bill?
microphone.
Bill, are you with us? Bill, your mic is on. We're just waiting to.
Hi.
All right, we
His
can see
microphone
Bill,
isn't
so
on.
I'll record
Can
Bill
you
as
just-
present.
Can you come out?
There goes Bill.
Okay,
Tanner, are you with us?
Here, yeah, I'm here.
okay, you can hear me.
And Hayden, are you there?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, hold
item
on
3.0,
Pledge to-
public comment.
He's
We
using your mic.
we're sort of getting some
I'm trying to find
background
the volume
here
thing.
from Bill's wife. I'm just gonna stop.
Yeah. Oh, I'll plug in. No, because they were on. I just have. Oh shoot.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, the microphone I see.
Yep, you are on
Right,
mic.
it said-
Hear me.
I feel like their volume might be off.
Oh, now they're off mic. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to continue now that we're not getting that background noise here. Item 3.0, public comments. We did not receive any public comments by noontime today. I do want to make specific mention, though, of those Phippsburg families and parents that we heard from in public comment a couple of meetings ago concerning nursing services in Phippsburg. And we have communicated to that, or Vita did send them a response at one point indicating that Finance Committee would be continuing to discuss this issue. And I'm going to ask either Vito or Bill, or perhaps I will send an email to them. We as you're aware, we are receiving about $430,000 in CARES funding to additional funding from the state and from the federal government to get us through this pandemic and the issues that have arisen because of that. And part of the district's plan for the utilization of those CARES funds will result in the district adding nursing capacity. Now that capacity will be, I can't at this point, I don't think we can say how that capacity will be assigned, but I am confident. I think we can assure those parents that some of those additional resources will be assigned to the Phippsburg elementary school. So those funds can be spent over the course of 2 years. And I think once Patrick and the folks that he has working on the plan to utilize those funds come to a final determination, the board will get a report on that. But I think at this point we can be assured that some of those funds will be used for nursing and health and safety of our students, and that some of that added capacity will go to Phippsburg. So we will address the concerns of those parents. Okay, 4.0, we have an update from Katie on our remote learning committee. And just before Katie starts, I do want to thank Katie and Bob Jordan and Patrick for pulling that committee together and getting the survey out. And those are the survey findings that Katie will discuss. It was a great group of people, a good discussion over the course of four meetings. And I do want to acknowledge, as far as process goes, we might not like the findings, but as far as the process goes, I think Katie and Bob and Patrick did a great job there. Anita, I don't know if you want to add anything to that at this point. If not, we'll move it over to Katie. No? Okay. Katie, go ahead.
Sure. So what we're going to do tonight is actually share a presentation that we'll look at more carefully and later this month at our official June board meeting. So I just want to quickly walk you through a presentation, and board members and administrators, I did send this to you, I don't know, around 5:15. So in case you want to follow it along, I know sometimes when we're screen sharing like I'm about to do, it can be really small. And so it's hard to, for everybody to see what is going on. So can you see, are you looking at yourselves right now?
Yes.
Okay, in the corner? Okay. So, somebody's calling in. Are you now seeing my presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. Because if I'm looking at this, I can't also look at you, or if I can, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Okay. So this is the presentation you should all have in your email. Essentially similar to what Steve just shared, we did put this committee, as you all know, together. It was around 22 people to create a survey, analyze the results, and create 14 recommendations for you and our administrative team to consider should we need to, and it's likely, use some form of distance learning in the future. And so I know I shared participation rates with you last time. The way this is set up, and I'll skip the next slide and come back to that, is each of these slides is actually numbered with the recommendations that we came up with as a group. There are 14 of them. I think, Steve mentioned that, it depends on, we'll see how we feel about them. I will go out on a limb and say, I feel great about how well the committee worked together and the recommendations we came up with, I think that, as you scroll through here, and again, I wanted you to have it so you could read it between now and our next board meeting, where we'll talk about it in depth and we'll be able to have more of a conversation and ask questions about it. Essentially, what was great about the findings is, our administrative team has been continuing to have conversations. I'll just quickly scroll through as I talk about what needs to change, how we can do better, what's going well. And there was nothing that came up in any of these 14 suggestions that we weren't either already aware of or already planning a fix for. And so I think what's great is that while we have a very diverse community of thinkers, and there was a lot of, it was plenty of work versus it was not a lot of work. So there was some opinions on opposite sides of the spectrum. Most of what we were able to come through to for conclusions and to for these recommendations were actually things that were very much in line with how we're already thinking. And so what's happening now is we have given all of these recommendations now to you through this document and through, the actual survey data. We have also passed these on. I created documents for each of the school buildings to review with their teachers, all 14 of the recommendations. And from there, they will make suggestions of how to put in place all of these changes that we think need to happen. We'll collect all of the information from those building groups, and we will come up with a set list of suggestions for what we are going to do to change the next time this needs to happen. And that will go to the larger group that Patrick is putting together, that is the fall planning committee that includes emergency management, administrators, nurses, school board members, and whatnot that you've talked about. So I tried to pair on each of these slides a graph from one of the surveys. It could be the parent, the student, or the staff survey that I thought sort of correlated or best represented why we might have made the determination we did that a recommendation should take place. So that's why they're all set up like this. I actually want to go back, sorry to make you dizzy by going fast, to this one. These are both graphs from our student survey. One is, if you can't see it, I have at least one staff member I feel I can reach out to if I'm struggling or have concerns. And the other is, I feel like my teachers have been understanding during this time. The dark green and the light green are the positive responses. And I think, you know, what this speaks to me and what it spoke to the group with, we had to do all this planning very last minute. We had to, you know, make a lot of decisions really quickly, but at the forefront of everything we decided was we know this is going to be a really hard time for students. We want to be understanding. We want to continue to make connections and build relationships. And this feedback from the students we had respond, you know, shows that one of our main goals was, you know, accomplished is a strong word because I never like to see, you know, the red and the orange, but it went, you know, fairly well. And so that was kind of nice to see. So other than, I'm actually going to stop presenting now and just quickly ask, are there any quick questions or comments as we'll have a longer discussion about these findings next time?
Katie, could you tell me what digital portal means on item number 2?
Yes. So on item number 2, and I'm not presenting anymore, correct?
Right.
Okay. I just don't want to I don't want to make you guys dizzy as I flip around these more quickly than I would if you were looking at them. Okay. So essentially, what that means is a lot of school systems are now looking into purchasing, and the University of Maine is doing the same, a learning management system, which is essentially one-stop login for Google Classroom to be connected into, for Infinite Campus to be connected into. All the different curriculum pieces that we would be using would all be in one place. So right now, one of the pieces of feedback we got that I can absolutely see how this would be the case is it was very stressful for families and kids sometimes to have so many different pieces to keep track of and log into, and what's my username for this and my password for that, and having to switch back and forth between, you know, getting their grades and getting their assignments. These systems, and we're looking at 3 demos. Actually, this week, Dean's put together a really nice opportunity for the tech committee members and some others to look at 3 companies. So we could potentially, we're putting money into the CARES Act to be able to purchase one of these for next year for efficiency for families and just making it, and actually it's going to be easier for teachers as well. So it's sort of a win-win. They run about $20,000. One of the ones, the one that UMaine adopted, Brightspace, is one of the ones we're looking at. If you've heard that name, or if you've heard Seesaw, or I can't remember all the names, but that's what that is.
So that helps once people have connection. But what about those families that don't have internet connection?
Sure. So we have a couple of ideas for that. And if Dean, if you could chime in with the percent we think might not have internet because or are unable to get it because of where they live location wise, that would be great. But essentially, we're also putting in money into the CARES Act for some hotspots. We have yet to determine how those will be allotted to different families. We're also trying to come up with ideas around sort of open Wi-Fi times with social distancing. So for instance, whatever model we go with of school design, we could probably open up some of our cafeterias, for instance, and be using those spaces as opportunities for students to come and take their online classes or to complete work. And so we're sort of trying to get really, our great tech department, who I'm currently the spokesperson for right now, has done some really great work of thinking outside the box of how do we get every single person the information they need. I also have purchased through education.com, they actually have standards aligned packets that are much more robust and less work for teachers that do weekly packets. And so I feel like we can get even better at the paper items that we do send home. And so that's something we're looking into when, it just doesn't work out, or you live in a place where you lose power and therefore your Chromebook doesn't work, 5 times whatever Lorna said in the beginning. There's a lot of reasons why it's never going to be a perfect system. And so we need to be really creative with all of our solutions.
On the survey that we presented to the Morse students, we had roughly 4.5% or so who said that they didn't have internet connectivity. And I think roughly 9 or 10% who said they didn't have connectivity that was sufficient for streaming or video conferencing. Those numbers are still very difficult to work with because obviously we only get the students who responded. It was over 400 students. So we got the majority of them. But one of the things we're hoping to do over the next 2 weeks is have some staff help us to basically reach out to each family to find out, do you have a connection, whether it's a cell phone connection or Wi-Fi, whatever it might be, because many of the families we're funding have, a hotspot on their cell phone, which is, if we were to get hotspots, that was basically the same thing. It's a cellular data connection. And on the community survey, I think we had.
Yeah, I'm trying to look that up right now.
I think it was 5 people who responded who said that they were in a position where they could not get internet connectivity of any kind just based on the geography of where they live, services, and 3 who said they couldn't afford it. And that was out of 440 families.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and at one point, Dean, you were trying to identify, for those families who felt they couldn't afford it, trying to identify sources of funding for those families. Is that right? I seem to recall that.
We had
we did.
Go ahead. No, you go.
We did. We identified several options that were available in these last 3 months. Many of those programs that were specific for COVID-19 coronavirus have ended or are about to end because they were limited time specials. However, there are, through the local utilities, there are some ongoing ones that offer, as an example, if you qualify for free and reduced lunch, then you can also qualify for reduced internet connectivity at home through the cable company, things like that. I think the plans start at roughly $10 a month.
We have a disbeliever over there in Woolwich.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
okay.
What they tell me.
Any other questions for Katie or Dean or
Just one more. The survey was sent out via email, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So anyone who doesn't have internet or doesn't have email, they might be the same people that would really need internet services assistance, right?
Well, yes, and it was also posted on Facebook and on our website. So you wouldn't have to have an email to receive it. You would either have to have internet or data on a phone to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and what we're finding so far, and it's more anecdotal than scientific, is that it's very rare that a family doesn't have a phone with a data plan.
Okay, thanks. And given that there was community participation in the survey and the results, we are intending, once the board has a chance to receive the final report, we will be communicating in some fashion, maybe not the entire data set or anything like that, but we will be communicating the findings to the public generally, to our community generally. So, any other questions for Katie? Patrick, do you want to add anything at this point? No.
No, not to that. I mean, I would like to, you thanked me. The heavy lifting on this committee was Katie and Bob. And so I want to thank them.
And Dean.
And Dean, yes. So thank you guys. I'll just quickly mention, I know it's not on the agenda, but Steve and I talked about, this one was focused on distance learning. And now we have another committee that's focused on the reopening plans for the fall. So I sent that to you today. I sent it to you a while back as well. But I just wanted to review, we have 18 people on the committee. We have administrators, nurses, athletic director, food service director, facilities director, tech director, police, fire, emergency management. We have union representation, a parent, board member, and our consulting physician. We may also add another person from Midcoast Hospital as well, but we're waiting to hear back from Lois Skilling, the president at this point right now. The first meeting will be this Thursday, June 11th at 10 a.m. And we have one scheduled for next week, June 18th as well. And after our first meeting on Thursday, we'll set more meeting dates. And the end thing is July 27th right now is what I've penciled in. I know we don't usually meet in July, but July 27th would be that fourth Monday. And I'm setting that as a goal for the board to have the first reading of our reopening plan. So, we also have our school-based teams that are working on this already and pondering this topic and providing input into the process, as well as, the eventual recommendations that we'll have. So I just wanted to, let people know that, we've had an initial group meeting the last probably 3 or 4 times with 6 of us, and now we're broadening the meetings. And as Steve, I think, emailed you, that we will make sure that board members have an invite to that meeting if you'd like to listen in on to the meetings that we have. I know it's not maybe ideal for you at 10 a.m., but right now that's the time that we're meeting.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Thanks. Any questions of Katie or Patrick at this point on these 2 things? No.
I just want to reinforce, great job too, pulling it all together. It's really been quite a feat. So thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 5.0, we have a second reading and approval of the FY21 school budget. This is an action item. And as you know by now, this is the budget up to this point has been Patrick's budget, the administrative team's budget. We've carried on a pretty extensive dialogue with those folks, and hopefully at this point we're in a position as a board to adopt the budget and make it our representation of school finances going forward. So this is an action item. I'm going to ask first for a motion. We're working off the budget that is dated. Actually, the document itself is dated 5/19/2020, but Deb just distributed today, and it is the proposed budget in the heading dated June 8th, 2020. It's a $38,205,538 budget going forward. The local contribution is $19,000,000 $243,000, which represents about a 2.1% increase in the tax levy. So do I have a motion to approve this budget?
I'll move to approve the budget. Blue.
And we have a motion by Lou. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bill. Okay, thanks. So now discussion. Any further comments, discussion from board members on the budget? I think we benefited from the input from the finance committee. I think Jen, you in particular have raised some very pointed, some very good questions and help focus us on some issues. I hope board members agree with me that it's a very responsible proposal at this point, coming in at around 2% for locals. We understand the pressure that the towns and and families in the district are under, and feel that this budget focuses on the essential parts of the education, our educational mandate, and helps us meet that obligation we have for our students.
Did somebody still have a question about the school revolving renovation fund? Do you want me to review that real quickly, or would that be helpful or not?
Sure, I think that would be.
Okay.
Okay. Just because it is going to be a separate question on the ballot. So remember, we applied for a school revolving renovation fund program, and it's called for Priority 1, Health, Safety, and Compliance renovations related to the conversion from steam to hot water and abatement at Dyke Newell School. We were excited to receive this award from the Department of Education, as this is a project we would have to do anyway with local money. So Maine DOE awarded us a loan in the amount of $365,327 through the state's zero interest rate loan forgiveness project. And the Maine Municipal Bond Bank will forgive 51.06% or $188,536 of the total approved loan amount. And we will be obligated, the RSU, to pay 48.94% or $178,791 over a 5-year period. And again, the Maine Municipal Bond Bank has agreed to lend these funds to us, again, at a repayment of 0% interest. So this is in our budget. And the first payment is in Dyke Newell's operation and maintenance account for $35,000 and change. And that's our first payment. And then obviously we're obligated to make that same payment for the next 4 years, unless we were able to expedite, payments. But right now that's our plan. So it's going to be a separate item when people go to vote, and, a point well made today that, our job is to, use the next month, to get the word out that this is good news for us. It's not something that we should see as a burden. I mean, it's something we would have had to pay for the whole thing ourselves, and we're getting help from the state. So hopefully that helps answer some questions.
Okay, thanks, Patrick.
Mhm.
Any comments, any further discussion? Okay, if not, I'm going to call the roll. Anita. So the motion is to approve the budget as proposed. Anita,
Aye.
Lorna,
Aye.
Lou,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
I vote aye. Tanner.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 6.0. We will, just to Patrick's last note, we did talk today a little bit about the communication process that we hope to have to make sure that folks have the detail on the budget. We realize these are difficult times, and maybe we didn't have as many people able to attend meetings and deal with understand the detail of the budget. But we will, maybe Lindsay can do some some PR, not PR, I shouldn't call it that, but some descriptive material that will go out explaining the budget to the voters before the July referendum. Item 6.0, this is a vote to call and approve the warrants for a combined school budget and school revolving fund renovation. As Patrick said, there'll be two separate questions during the referendum, and to call and approve the notice of a remote public hearing for that referendum. Patrick did send out and I've asked Lulu to make the motion, the rather dense language of the motion, which we'll read in its entirety. I realize that the break from doing the district meeting is certainly different for us. I mean, Patrick had conversations with Drummond and Woodsum about this. The recommendation not to do the district meeting is based on a health and safety concern. It's for us, it's also a concern since we can only gather 50 individuals at one time. There's a procedural problem of how we accommodate what historically has been a group larger than 50, not hugely larger than 50, but larger than 50. In conversation with our attorney, there was also a concern raised that if for some reason we excluded or an individual felt excluded from the meeting because we had to limit the size and perhaps send people to satellite rooms to participate in the meeting, there was a concern that we could be challenged at some point if we didn't meet the obligation of being inclusive of the entire community. And perhaps a final point was that the budget process up to this point hasn't really raised a lot of contentious issues for us as a community. So hopefully, if that's an indication that broadly the community is supportive of our effort to date, then we'll take it and go to a remote format. It is only for this year. We'll be back to the district meeting format again next year. So I will ask to read the motion, and it's going to take some time, but I think it is important that we read the entire motion into the record and that those from the community listening in have an opportunity to hear the motion. So go to it, Lou.
All right, so I'm reading the whole thing.
I would, please.
Okay. Whoops, hold on. All right. You can still hear me, right?
We can. Yep.
Okay. Well, no, I've got like all these windows open. I want to make sure. Okay. So the whole page. All right. The motion. I move that the vote entitled Vote to Call a Regional School Unit Budget and Minor Capital Bond Referendum, call a public hearing, approve the referendum warrants, and approve the notice of public hearing be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that a copy of said vote be included with the minutes of this meeting. Vote to call a regional school unit budget and minor capital bond referendum, call a public hearing, approve the referendum warrants, and approve the notice of public hearing. Whereas pursuant to Governor's Executive Order 56, fiscal year 1920, the regional school unit budget meeting is suspended and replaced by a remote public hearing and the proposed budget submitted to referendum. And whereas the school board has approved a proposed budget and other questions for submission to the voters of the regional school unit, now therefore be it voted that the warrants and notices of election for the regional school unit budget and minor capital bond referendum presented to this meeting be approved, and that a regional school unit budget and minor capital bond referendum be called for July 14th, 2020, for the purpose of submitting the fiscal year 2020-2021 school budget, other fiscal matters, and minor capital bond question to the voters of the regional school unit for approval as set forth in the warrants and notices of election. That the notice of public hearing presented to this meeting be approved, and that a remote public hearing be called for June 22nd, 2020 for consideration of and comment on the fiscal year 2020-2021 school budget, other fiscal matters, and minor capital bond question to be submitted to the regional school unit voters at the July 14th, 2020 regional school unit budget and minor capital bond referendum, and that the warrants and notices of election and the notice of public hearing shall each be signed by a majority of the school board, and that such signatures may be made electronically by execution of counterparts or in person at the convenience of the members of the school board. A true copy as adopted by a majority of the school board attest. Patrick Manuel, Secretary. There we go.
Thanks, Lou.
Sure.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is Lorna.
A second by Lorna. So we have a motion and a second by Lorna. Any discussion? So the meeting on the 22nd is a public hearing. We will go through the script as we have in the past, right? Outlining each, discussing each, outlining each. It's just that there will be no public input or vote on those individual items. But
There'll be there'll be an opportunity for public comment, like we've been doing at these meetings. And that can be read under the appropriate article if we do receive public comment, but yeah.
Okay. I do have one question, Patrick, and I don't know how to deal with it, and I didn't see it before. It says pursuant to Governor's Executive Order number 56, FY 1920. Is that? I know the attorney put this together, but could we just verify that?
Yes, I will. Yep.
I don't think it's not material to the motion. So.
Yeah.
Okay, if no discussion, I'm going to ask again, do a roll call. Anita?
Aye.
Lorna?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye. Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Tanner?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. As I think Patrick has sent out, or maybe it came from Vita, I'm not sure, but we now have to, tomorrow, you guys need to contact the district office and set up a time when you can all get in individually to sign those warrants. They need to go out to towns by the end of the week, right, Patrick? Okay.
Hi, this is Deborah. I just want to let you all know that I'm in the office at 7 in the morning. So whenever you want to come on in, just call the office and we can come out and unlock the doors.
Great,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, for those of you who have not gone to the office in this time, the door, as she said, the door's locked. Bring your phone with you and call when you get to the door. So, okay, thank you very much. So that concludes our business for this special meeting. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Lou. Do I have a second?
Second.
Go ahead.
Lorna? Let's do the roll again. Anita?
Aye.
Lorna?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Now Jennifer can go home now. Megan?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And Steve votes aye. Tanner?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.